let's not look at coaching or training as distractions. These are not distractions. If it's really effective coaching that you are giving out to the people and they are benefiting from that, so this hour lost of the day is compensated into results in revenue to the company. With any new team, I don't start with coaching. What I start with is I just start first by observation period. I'm here to understand what you guys are doing.
You have people with different background. They have different style. How do you
Yeah.
categorize them differently, and how do you approach each one of these sellers based on their personality and where they are in their journey?
That's a very good question, Mike. And
Hey, Moment, how's it going, my friend?
it's doing great, actually, Mike. How's everything with you?
Things are good. Can't complain. I just moved to my new apartment, so dealing with furnishing the place. Other than that, things are good. Good to see you.
All right. I know the hassle, trust me, for a guy who moved like I moved like 7 or 8 times in the past 5 years. So like I know the hassle, how it
You're an
feels,
expert
man.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an expert mover actually, and just recently moved again from Alexandria to Cairo in Egypt as well. So yeah,
Nice.
I am. I'm a mover somehow. So I get you're coming from, and my heart is with you.
Oh, good. Thank you. I need that. Look,
Yeah,
before we start, I want our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So, why don't you tell us a
yeah.
little bit about your journey and what you're working on these days?
Sounds good. So basically, like I'm a guy who's 32 years old, but ironic enough, I have over 20 years of experience in sales because I was raised in a family business based on sale. My father used to own a retail store. So since I was like 10 years old, I was getting lessons about sales and how can I attract my customers and how can they come back and things like that from my father, who had no education about sales, of course, but he got it from the years of experience. And then but I worked officially in corporates and started my life there like 10 years ago. I started back in like 2015, yeah, my professional career as a sales representative. I started first, of course, as a sales representative, working on behalf of a Canadian brand, actually, and that's a nice coincidence there that you're in Canada right now as we're speaking. But yeah, I worked for the Canadian brand for 6 years, actually, all the way from rep to leader. And then I got headhunted by another company as an sales operations manager for a dental equipment company, actually in USA, in Atlanta, Georgia. And I worked in this domain for like a year. In the first 3 months, I worked as the sales operations manager. Then they actually let go the sales director, so I jumped into the sales director role right away after 3 months because we did a great results during my first 3 months with them. So I was the sales director for the company for another 1 year. We did a lot of good results. We had very nice time together. Then I returned back to the original company that I was working for 6 years, one more time, but this time as a manager for the B2B business for sales on behalf of actually one of the biggest food delivery companies in USA as well. And right now I worked for 1.5 year with them, and now I got headhunted again by another company working in the construction domain in USA as the commercial director. So I handle both the sales and marketing part as well. Away from this whole corporate life, I have been launching and supporting startups in Egypt with the Egyptian founders, helping them to create successful sales teams as a part time. This is the side hustle for the past 5 years that I was doing beside my corporate life. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Away from that, I'm a sales vlogger. I do sales videos, and I also do sales books. I have my first sales book was published back in 2021. It's called Can't Sell, Read This Book. This is not an advertisement, by the way. And yeah, I do sales, for a living, as they say, and I breathe it in every minute of my life.
That's awesome, man. Like, it sounds like, again, your dad did a great job, kind of like getting you started in sales, and you took it as your lifetime career, and you still, stay in it. So that's great. Let me ask you something, because most of
Sure.
our guests been from where? From the U.S. or Canada, and you're the first guy from the Middle East, Africa
Yeah.
region. So I'm really curious to start a conversation um, about like How do you define the differentiation between this like North American culture to like Egyptian culture? I know you're working with companies in the U.S. and Canada, but you still
Yeah.
have sellers uh, inside the country. Is that correct, or I'm wrong?
No, most of the time, the companies I worked for as a corporates or offshoring business, in other words, it
Okay,
was Egyptian employees in here in Egypt offices, but they are working for the Canadian or American markets actually. But
got it.
like at the same time, my working was startups as well in Egypt, in Egypt that was a local part,
Yeah.
so we were selling to Egypt as well. And ironic
Hmm.
enough, actually, Mike, the US and Egyptian customers are quite very similar in a way that nobody will believe each other. Like if you tell that to the Egyptians, they wouldn't believe you, and if you tell that to the US, they wouldn't believe you. But they are both like very frank. They like to cut through the chase. They don't like bluffing. They are like average. Both like they are. They want the results and they want fast. They want their demands accomplished very quickly. Sometimes like it's again it's very hard to tell that some like we can't just generalize something on all customers. Neither
Of
for
course.
U.S., neither for Canada, neither for Egypt, but we can say that it's the same mix almost. There is a big diversity in US market between, of course, a lot of immigrants from everywhere. Same thing as in Egypt, by the way. Like Egypt,
Mm.
because it's the center of the Middle East, so you have actually almost every nationality living in Egypt with big populations. So we have Syrians, we have Sudanese, we have Iraqis, everyone, and we have actually a lot of people also from Russia, from America. You will find every single like culture spectrum in Egypt as well. So it's quite diverse, we can say. And that's the similarity part. Like maybe the different part is that the Egyptian market is less used to the telesales calls and less tolerant to the cold calls, we can say so.
Mhm.
The US culture is used to that. They are used to the cold calling and they know that this is like something normal to happen like 5 6 times a day, that they receive cold calls from different people. For Egyptians, no, it's not the same thing. They are not used for the sales cold calls.
Hmm. Interesting. So, well, what is a typical practice to build top of a funnel? If cold calls is not working, is it more email or literally handshake, face to face?
So it will depend mainly if we are talking B2C or B2B, because as you know, like they're quite different worlds in other words. But for are we talking about US or Egypt market? Like let's be
Egypt market.
specific.
Yeah.
So for Egypt market, it's more like if you want to build the tofu from cold outreach, it's better to use WhatsApp.
Mhm.
That's usually the most results that you can do is from WhatsApp. The Egyptians are crazy about WhatsApp. Okay, the like they use WhatsApp. Everyone. We don't do SMS here anymore.
Pretty
Okay.
much like Latin America. The WhatsApp is a
Yeah.
big thing. Yeah.
Yes, but like that's gonna bring you much better results. The WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp called outreach. This is something that can bring you a lot of results for tofu in Egypt market.
Gotcha. All right. So you said Egyptian culture is like American. You want to cut through the chase and right away get into it. So let's follow that. Let's start
Yeah.
with coaching. What's coaching, Moen? You tell us.
So, in my opinion, like coaching is the process of behavior shifting. That's in general, or mindset shifting about something. So, basically, if you want to coach someone, he must understand why he needs to change it and what's the consequences of change it or the consequences of not changing it, like the pain or the benefit of changing the behavior that he's doing. And you do that by not telling people what to do. Like you can tell people what to do from here till next year. People doesn't like to be told what to do. They like to be coached, and being coached is that you help them navigate by themselves what they need to change and
Hmm.
why. And you do that by effective questioning through your coaching technique, not by telling, yeah, you did that right, you did that wrong. No.
Okay. That's fair enough. So let me ask you about your personal experience coaching, others. Can you recall a coaching moment that still haunts you? Like the one that you got wrong and you knew it, but too late.
Yeah, I'm trying to squeeze my brain for this, but like for a coaching that went wrong, I believe this is maybe in my early coaching life, a little bit, when I was coaching a colleague who was more tenured than me, and I was the sales delegate by that time. I was not even officially their leader at that time, and this guy actually rejected that I even talked to him later on, and that's because like I didn't earn his trust first before I approach him with my coaching, and maybe I was a little bit also um, didn't break the jealousy part, because being the top seller of the team, sometimes you will have fans and sometimes you will have people who are not fan of you and they will suspect what you do. Okay, but I needed, before I approach this guy, is to earn his trust that he needs, like he can listen to me. I didn't build the bond, the connection, like the personal bond before coaching, which is very crucial. That before starting any coaching session with someone, you try to build like a personal connection, so he can actually lower his shield a little bit and feel like you are someone who's looking for his best interest, that you're not someone who's coming to show off.
Fair enough. How do you build that trust?
So building this trust is a process that takes a lot of factors in it. So first of all, you need to really show that you are here to help, and you are not going to show that by saying it. You are going to show that by doing it. So as a leader or sales director, or a VP or whatever, if the people feel that you are just here to tell them what to do and don't have enough engagement with them and showing them that you are really trust them, that they know the right thing but they might just need some guidance, like then you will feel that they will look at you that you don't know exactly what we do. You are just sitting down in the top of your high tower and you're just giving us orders, but
Hmm.
when you get your hands dirty and go and shadow with them, see what they are doing, and ask them how efficient that did that do for you in the past. Like, what other ways did you try in the past, and what worked more? Did you have data? Do you have analysis about the ways that you tried? That's from the professional perspective. On the personal perspective, you have to break ice with them, like go have a coffee with them outside in the company lobby or something like that. Try to spend as much time as you can with your team away from the floor of the business. The personal connection really matters, and that's also why like I always say that to a lot of leaders. If you don't do enough outings with your team on a monthly or at least quarterly basis, let's say that you're working remote and you can't meet monthly, at least maybe once every quarter, when you meet outside the business environment, have fun, play some games, have some drinks and things like that, this creates a little bit of comfort. This comfort will make these people feel inside the business that you don't deal with them as numbers. You deal with them as humans, because you deal with them not just during the working hours or thing like that. But don't get me wrong, because some bosses will use that in the wrong way and call people after the working hours asking for work. No, of course not. This is not something you should do. But you should arrange outings. Maybe you should have some fun activities during or after hours, whatever, but that's with the people consent, not force it on them or anything like that. But you need to dedicate more time for the engagement with the people.
I'm with you, and I think it's very important to spend time with your team outside of work. But some might actually challenge this and say, "Look, you as a boss, you shouldn't be friend, with your team." I wanted to get your
Yeah.
perspective. Is that a right statement, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I understand. It's not a right or wrong statement. It's okay to be close, but you can't be friend, like, because a friend will like will just think with emotions about his friend. But you can be a connecting leader, and that there is a difference between a connecting leader and a friend. A connected leader is a person who connects to his team, he engages a lot, he listens to them, he gives them all the support that he can, he keeps his word, and he, whatever time that he finds that he can engage with them, he's going to do that. That's the connecting leader, and that's different from being a friend. A friend is someone that you will stay over, you will live together, you will have whatever, and you have secrets, you will cover for each other's mistake, which is not, this is not something what we do in business. So there is a fine line between the connecting leader and the friend. And yeah, you can't be a friend because sometimes you have to be placed in a situation that will be tough for you to take a tough decision on this person if you really build this friendship with them. But if you are connecting but yet professional, uh, that's still like valid to have, but not to the friendship level. Like that's my intake on that.
That's a great perspective. To your point, there's a fine line being just a friend, and to your point, just sometimes protect them with things that actually damage the business. Now,
Yeah,
you joined a company recently, right? And congratulations, by the way. So
thank you,
you
man.
you either inherited the team or you have to build your team from scratch, start hiring new talent. How do you make sure that you build this relationship, you get this permission, you build this trust to actually go about having this coaching sessions without losing momentum? Because you still have numbers to hit, you still have to look at company's agenda. So is there a timeline you put into this, or you keep it open? How does this work in your world?
So basically, to keep things on track and not lose momentum while we are doing coaching and training sessions and things like that, the idea is let's not look at coaching or training as distractions. That's actually a part that I need to highlight. These are
Hmm.
not distractions. When you get a coaching session, even if this coaching session took an hour of the day or something like that, but if it's really effective coaching that you are giving out to the people and they are benefiting from that, so this hour lost of the day is compensated into results in the upcoming weeks and months and years in revenue to the company. So it's really worth the investment to do that. And at the same time, maybe you can start, instead of wasting your time as well, because sometimes your time is going to be tight and you don't have enough capacity to go on a one-to-one level with each and everybody. You can start with group trainings first and make sure that you fill the basics for the team, whether you inherited or a new team, before spending time on coaching. Because sometimes when there is a lot of basics missing in a specific team, it's not realistic that you go ahead and coach each person for the same basic. So you wasted like 6 hours on individual coaching while you have covered that. You could have covered that in one training that takes an hour, for the
Hmm.
whole team. And then after setting the basics for the train through an effective training, later on, I usually, and that's what I usually do with any new team, I don't start with coaching. What I start with is I give them, I observe first, and I don't even start with training, by the way. I just start first by observation period. I'm here to understand what you guys are doing. If I'm here, I'm inheriting a team. And my first month, usually I just watch and learn and see what needs to be improved, what's missing, and things like that. Then I will go into a training period with the team so I understand now what's the common missing parts that they have, and I will tackle these first. So I tackle it with everybody in a group training. And once I finish this part, which is training, I then later on check the personal differences, which is okay, now we all have the same basics. This guy is feeling a little bit in the mofo. This guy is suffering with the tofu. This guy is suffering with the mofo, and this guy needs some coaching on the negotiation. This guy needs some coaching on passing gatekeepers. So then we can coach on personal stuff that will make more sense to coach personally on it. So that's how
Hmm.
usually I approach it when I'm handling a new team, whether I'm founding it or an inherited team.
I love it. This is actually a very smart approach, because to your point, you started observing without getting any, giving any solutions, because you don't even know what's not working. And then you get them in a group setting to save time, to understand like the areas of improvement as a whole for the entire team. And then you break it down
Yes,
to each individual's, need based on their strength and weaknesses. Which is actually, I really like this
exactly.
approach that helps you, yeah, to ramp as a leader yourself, to really understand what's not
Yes.
working. Do you believe your reps burn leads practicing on client calls? When it comes to giving them one-on-one coaching sessions, you just don't have the bandwidth, so you get rid of them altogether? Or maybe you notice that your team spends a lot of time on non-revenue tasks like taking notes, updating CRM, or drafting emails. These are the exact challenges we solve for other revenue leaders like yourself. With Sell Me the Spend AI Coach, you can offer your reps role-play sessions at scale while automating one-on-one coaching sessions based on your best practices and methodology. Also, AI will take care of all their non-revenue tasks, like note-taking, CRM updates, draft the email for them, so they can focus on constant improvement while you're focusing on one thing and one thing only: revenue growth. If you're interested in learning more about the clients we are working with or use cases that might be beneficial to you, check us out at sellmethespend.ai. Okay, now let's talk about different, seller personas. We have people with, different background, different, strength and weaknesses. They have different style. How do you
Yeah.
categorize them differently, and how do you approach each one of these sellers based on their personality and where they are in their journey?
So that's a very good question, Mike. And when you say that, you remind me with something like that. There is actually, if I categorize the sales persons, let's say, like it's gonna be more than one category. So there is the learner, and this is my favorite type. Let me put it this way. And this learner is a guy who have a lot of interest in what he do. He wants to learn, he wants to read books, he wants to watch courses. He like, this is a learner. So, and this is usually the most beloved because it's easier to like to deal with this kind, because he is eager to know. So you just give him the sources and he's happy with that. Just he's gonna go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and learn. And although this type sometimes he takes longer to execute, like he might sound good like from you for you in the first glance, and that he will go crush it right away, but that's not the real case, because he sometimes fall into the analysis paralysis after he learned a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you start giving him the, okay, go ahead, learn. Let's, I give him resources, I give him books and things like that. But then I start giving him, okay, hold on, now let's execute. Give me a pitch tomorrow that he will start using. All right, and
Mm-hmm.
then try it. He doesn't work, like let's create another one. You need to give him a little push in order not to stop in the analysis paralysis part, because that's the issue of the people who likes to plan too much, before
Mm-hmm.
executing. So that's the first type for me. The second type, which is also, I really love this type so much, is the empty cup. So this guy is fresh. He doesn't have anything in his mind, but he's not a learner. He's not going to go proactively and learn
Yeah.
stuff. But when you give him stuff, he's going to go ahead and try it, and he was going to trust you because he doesn't know anything else. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this type is also, I find it easy to coach and teach these people even, and I can tell you actually one of the most successful sales team that I coached before I made really professional sales people from was data entry employees,
Mm-hmm.
because they had absolutely no idea about sales. So when I gave them the directives, when I gave them how they can be salespeople, they were like rock stars. But sometimes when you have someone who's like, and that's the third part, and that's the one which is, I find, the most challenging as well to approach, and that's the one that you need to do a lot of effort with. This is the experienced sales person. Okay. And why this type is difficult? Because he has a lot on his cup already. His cup is full of different sales experiences that he worked in. Some of it is healthy and valuable to the business, but some of it is harmful and not appropriated for the kind of business that he's doing or something like that. So it's usually challenging because he usually have always have a different perspective about what you
Hmm.
coach him about. No, I don't do it this way, I do it that way. But when you come to ask, is it working with you? No, it's not, but that's what I know. That's what I like to do. That's the way that I like to do. That's the smarter way. And this is something that I hear from a lot of experienced people. I like to work smart, not hard. And I'm not against it. Okay. And the reason for that is that I'm not against working smart and finding efficient way to do it with the least effort. But some people, when they say I work smart, they just want to say I don't want to exert a lot of effort. Okay,
Hmm.
so you need to give me all the easy tools that I can use so I can get my target. But that's the whole thing. Like there is a fine line between working smart and being lazy at the same time. So sometimes, yes, you need to hustle, you need to ring a lot of rings and get your like the line hang up in your face. Like this is what we do in cold calling. In other words, if you are expecting something different, then this is not the business for you, man. Because like you're calling people out of the blue if you're cold calling. So just I want to depend only on emails. Yes, emails is a good funnel, but it's not enough because as you are sending emails, there's thousands of other companies who are sending emails as well. So do you think that this cold outreach through an email will be enough to capture this decision maker attention? The unfortunately no, it's not enough. Usually, you have to support it with multiple attempts and calls. Try to reach him through his gatekeepers. Try to get his phone number through connections. Try to approach an influencer. Like in B2B, especially, the game is different, and it requires a lot of effort to build a pipeline that will later on give you results. And it's not immediate results. That's why it's also another challenge that when you coach for people for a way and you don't see the immediate results for it, it takes time to build the pipeline, to keep scheduling appointments and things like that. So yeah,
Makes sense. Look, I love the breakdown. So it seems like again the guys who are fresh is the easiest, and typically they get the best result because again you shape them, you give them all the knowledge they need, and they're hungry, they want to prove themselves, they go out
yes,
there and make things work. Then you have the learners, yeah, they might procrastinate a little bit, but you help them navigate that by give them some task to execute right away.
yeah,
Then we got the more tenured seasoned people who bring their own experience, some actually might work, some not, and they tend to again be a little bit more resistant toward change. So let's talk about the third group, the seasoned reps, because we all deal with them. Like you inherit a team, you have some of those guys in the team, and some of them
yeah,
are actually your high performing reps.
yeah.
So I wanted to get your opinion about building trust. You said you have to get your hands dirty, you have to show them how to do, but at the same time, some activities take more time, so you
Yeah.
have proof point. How do you go about actually building this trust, knowing the fact that what you are teaching or you are putting into experiment will take more time as a proof point?
So building the trust with the tenured people or the most experienced people who are performing as well is by giving them more of leadership as well, initiatives. It doesn't have to be leading the team, but if
Yeah.
they have good best practices, like you can show them that you trust them to share this best practices with the team. So you can, let's
Hmm.
say, give them a room for and a session. Go ahead, guys, teach the best practices that's giving the best results for you, and they will appreciate that you are putting the spotlight with them, and that you are trying, you understand, and they will feel that you are a smart leader who knows how to utilize his resources. If you give them some of the spotlight and go guys, teach your colleagues, and go guys, share your best practices. Thank you so much for that, sending recognition messages and things like that. And all right, uh, this is really going to help you to earn these people trust, that they know that you value them and you value their
Hmm.
experience. So yeah, this is the way that I would approach the sales experience people, with trusting them, delegating tasks that will make them show some leadership acts as well on there. And another thing is that you also try to learn from them, and this is gonna help them also understand that you are here, you're not arrogant enough to not to learn from the existing people how they are doing stuff. You just sit
Hmm.
down and ask questions. How do you guys do this? Yeah, that's brilliant. And like, praise them for the good stuff that they are doing and the hard work that they are doing. If you are new to the org, you need to learn from the experienced people, even if they are in your team or three lines below you or anything like that. That doesn't matter. You need to learn from the people and be humble so you can actually earn the people trust. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
maybe my mainly my intake about these people.
This is really actually smart to get them involved about their best practices, as is the ones that are proven. And to your point, not only shows that you are a leader who sees things and smart enough to leverage the resources, but also if it give them a stage to show who they are. It feels
Yes.
right to feel that, look, I'm included. I've been doing the work. I know what I'm doing, so at least I can share it with the rest of the team. Now, and there's actually another good practice. Someone mentioned it on the podcast, and it's the domino effect. So with the domino effect, you can build these cases. I'm sure you're familiar with some some team members. Let's say they could be even like the guys that you mentioned. They're fresh, they're new, and let them actually try and build a successful case, and then share that directly with, let's say, CRO or senior leadership. And then when this seasoned reps, they see that the juniors are actually outperforming them or getting the praise they wanted to get, they start like asking for it. Hey, can I walk through the same process? Can you teach me how they did it? So that could be again another angle to consider when you're working
Yeah,
with more 10-year seasoned people. Yeah.
that's definitely something, and that's actually you reminding me of something that I did back in the previous company actually, which is that when I held a team that was at risk, okay, and there was a very big issue and like client was not satisfied, things, a lot of things. So what I did also in the first month is that I brought two new sharks in the tanks. Like I actually hired two new people that joined the team as joiners, but one of them I knew the person personally, and I know that he's a shark. That once he go into the tank, he's gonna move things around. He's gonna
Mm-hmm.
outperform the people there because I know exactly what he's capable of doing, and we worked before. And believe it or not, this was a real motive for everybody else to move and follow. Okay, what is this guy doing? I need to know. I need to learn from this guy. And this guy, which is the shark in the tank, he used to be one of my empty cups back in the days, and
Mm-hmm.
he's now like a professional salesman. So when I placed him into the tank, you have no idea. The whole team doubled the productivity because they are now feeling that we have been here for a year older than this guy and he's outperforming us. This is shameful. We need to move fast. We need to learn what he's
Peer
doing.
pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great story. Look, I want to
Yeah, yeah.
ask my last question and get your opinion on it.
Sure, man.
It's great to again to coach and try to help your team achieve success, but how do you know when it's time to stop coaching someone or just cut them loose?
Yeah. So, first of all, like I can say that coaching should never stop. But the whole idea is that the coaching doesn't have to be behavior correction only. You might
Mm-hmm.
do coaching sessions not for changing. You are happy with what he's doing. So you just
Mm-hmm.
get him in and praise him. Man, I heard the call for you. It was amazing. I loved it. Thank you so much for the great job that you're doing. And like your performance is amazing. And thank you so much. If you do this on each and every coaching session schedule, it doesn't have to take the same 30 minutes that you planned it
Yeah.
for or you have it on the calendar. But
Mm-hmm.
it's good to keep it that even if he is doing great and there's nothing else to coach him on, which is this is something also rarely happens that when you someone is perfect and you have tackled each and every uh, skill and performance and time management and every aspect that he needs to work on and nothing left to do. And yeah, praise, just bring him to recognize him. That's it.
I love this point that, look, you still keep the coaching, sessions or meetings on your calendar, so he doesn't feel that he's not included. But you don't need to, overcomplicate things that are actually working. All right.
Exactly.
Look, I really enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. If someone wants to reach out to you, can they, and how?
If anybody wants to reach to me at any time, they can. Of course, my LinkedIn is available, and they can reach me anytime on my LinkedIn. I'm always open for anyone who needs help.
All right. Awesome, man. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this session, and until next time, bye for now.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good day.